Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
So let's take some example. So let's take this. I'm just randomly going to pick out what I'm seeing in the chat. After thinking about my parents, I felt sad at the thought of giving them up. And then a feeling of contraction happened in the chest, an intimate personal feeling. So after thinking about my parents, I felt sad at the thought of giving them up. You see? So if neither of these thoughts had come, you see, then what division would there be? So first let's suppose that neither of them came. Then let's look at, okay, if they come, then what? Is it? So firstly, if neither of these thoughts appeared at all, then we say that this is fine. Mostly you'll say that if the thoughts had not come at all, then it is fine. So then the trouble then is that what to do once the thought appears. So this satsang or this type of satsang is just about this. What to do, you see, or not do. We'll get into that exploration later. But what to do once this kind of thought comes. My parents, giving them up. So already in the way I'm saying it, I feel like you're getting some idea about where I'm going first. You see, where I'm going first is the inquiry. You see? So where I'm going first is the inquiry, which means that if your temperament is a bit of an explorer, you see, then when the thought comes, oh, what about my parents? Then we inquire into this and say, whose parents are these? Who is this mind who has parents? And it doesn't have to be logical or intellectual, but it's okay sometimes to start like that. You can look and say that little baby that was born has nothing in common with this man that is here. At least physically, every cell is different in this body. So what then remains a constant between that baby that was born and this man that is there? So that one, does it have parents? Is it? Now, be observant of the nature of the mind, that as I'm saying these kind of things, the mind will be quick to pick up the opposite idea. Oh, that, okay, then I have no parents, I can just give them up or something like that. I'm not saying that also. I'm just saying that as we inquire into the nature of this thought, we find that this thought is making a me where there is none. This thought is making a me where there is none. So like that, see? Then we continue and say, I felt sad at the thought of giving them up. See? So each aspect of this sentence, the mind is convincing you about this me, like the one that felt sad, the one that has to give up. See? See? I did not pick my parents, but now I have to give them up. These kind of things. See? So this is all misunderstanding. See? This is how limitation gets created. And in this case, the one that has parents, the one that has to give them up, is which one? That one is the presumed one, exactly the one that I've been talking about, the one that we presume ourselves to be. on the basis of some ideas that we have. So can we actually, like Guruji would say, can we bring this one to the witness box? Is it? Mhm. So this is a beautiful example, very beautiful example. So are we willing to live in the presumption of this one? Especially because these ideas are so intimate and sacred almost. Or are we willing to explore even this, like giving them up? Who is here that can give up? That must be the same one that picked them in the first place. Is it? So who picked their parents? Is it? Like that. So like that. So when I said that all of satsang is about what to do once this thought arises. So the first approach is to inquire. Because it is the thought which is, we looked at that so beautifully in this example that before the thought, everything was fine. Even the term fine is just a thought actually, is it? But everything is just what it is. But once a thought comes, then it seems to cause this suffering, this struggle, this resistance. So what to do with that? Firstly, we can inquire and say, which is the me? Who has to pick up and give up? Whose parents? And we don't presume any such me unless we find it. And we can go on with this entire sentence actually. And then a feeling of contraction happened in the chest, an intimate, personal feeling. Is it? Now, it is fine as long as it remains phenomenal. Like a feeling came and it seemed to correlate somewhere with this experience of the sensation that we call the chest. And even to go far as this, we can say, okay, intimate. Is it? Although even this we can explore a bit and say intimate, at what distance? How intimate was it? Is it? Then if we start to explore like this, we say it was really intimate. So then how close? 1 inch, 1 centimeter. Is it? Because intimate means that there are two. We are not saying, do we say this computer is very intimate with the space of this room? See? We don't say that. Why don't we say that? Why don't we say this computer is very intimate with the space of this room? See? Because there is no duality as far as that is concerned. It is clear that the computer is an appearance in the space. So we don't say it's intimate. But when we insert an idea of me and then the feeling comes, then it can feel like, oh, this feeling is seemingly strong and it's very close to me. So what is important is this exploration. But the trouble is that we explore the content in great depth. Like the feeling feels like grief, the feeling feels like separation, the feeling feels like joy, the feeling feels happy, the feeling, all these names we've given to all of these feelings because we love exploring that. But that other part of this feeling, which the one that it is close to or intimate with, when we start to explore that, then what happens? Is it? So who is the feeling intimate with? Is it? That is a presumed idea. So when I said, for example, are you willing to look at every idea in a true way and stay with the truth of what you are discovering and willing to throw out every idea based on what you are discovering? Then it's talking about all these aspects. Because in this one paragraph, there are so many presumptions about me. One is a physical presumption that I am a child of my parents. Then there's a presumption of, you know, what sadness is. the presumption that I can do something, which means give them up or accept them, the presumption that there is a feeling inside the chest, you see, the presumption of distance or intimacy, and then a massive presumption which is personal feeling. You see, an intimate personal feeling. You see? So, what is that? A personal feeling. Like, can a feeling confirm the existence of a person? It cannot. You see? So, this is a beautiful example. Thank you, Mahesh, because in this one paragraph, you can see how it becomes like that web I was talking about yesterday. One idea after another idea, and all my limited existence, my desire, my doership, my duality, everything is contained in this one small paragraph. But the beauty of exploration, open exploration, is that you look and you say, wow, there is no basis for this, 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 there is no. Really? In three small sentences or two small sentences, so much is presumed. But when we start to look, we say, what is this about? What is going on? Actually, I'm not experiencing any of this. See? And we are not denying any experience. When I say I'm not experiencing any of this, I don't want anyone to use it just as a concept. You see? You must say this only if that is your experience. You see? I'm not primarily experiencing this me that is just being presumed here. So a lot of the tricks of the mind are being exposed in this one sentence, like intimacy, which means there is some distance between two. Can there be intimacy in one? There cannot be. So there must be one, which is the feeling itself, and two, that which is the experiencer of this feeling, which is like a limited entity, like my feeling. And the mind quickly comes onto that and said, see, therefore it is personal. So we cannot go with any of these inferences now. I'm really spelling it out today because it's important to look at what self-inquiry actually means. It is not just about sitting 20 minutes a day and asking, who am I, who am I, who am I? It is really openly checking, who am I? And everything that the mind says can be used for this exploration. Who is the I at the center of this? My parents, I felt sad, giving them up. Who can give up or pick up? Then uh, contraction happened in the chest. Do we really know it is in this physical chest? Yes. So if I was to get a surgeon here and to do a surgery of the chest, would we find like that contraction? Or actually this level of feelings is a completely different level of existence. But we presume that it is in the chest. Maybe there's a bigger sensational space. You see, within which the chest is another, the physical experience of the chest is just another set of experiences. You see? Like we can say gratitude in my throat, or grief in my heart, or grief in my throat. Is it really physical objects? You see, because the throat, if it is the physical throat we are talking about, can only contain other physical things. You see? So this feeling that we are talking about is not a physical entity. So it can feel like feeling of constriction happened in the chest, but when you start to explore, you say, what is this? These two set of sensations which seem to intermingle in some way. Is it true that one contains the other? No. From my experience, I can say that in the space of my existence, these two sensations are playing out. This idea of containership, the idea that chest contains sensation of sadness, is emotion. But you must not just take these ideas at face value because of what you're hearing from me. You must explore for yourself. What does this actually mean? Is it an intimate personal feeling, especially this personal part, is it, that we can explore. So, first part, let me recap for everyone. So, what did we say? Before the thought arises, no trouble. So then suffering must be a product of at least the thought having to arise and our belief in it. You see? So what to do with that is what we are exploring. So the first method, if you want to call it that, you see, is the self-inquiry to really explore whose is this, what is it, what do I really know in this situation from my direct experience, you see, and staying true to that rather than inserting a presumption of the ego or inserting the presumption of separation. Now, some would have heard all of this for the last half an hour and said, "What is this, man?" Is it? Because some are just not, because some are just not inclined to this sort of exploration. This sort of inquiry seems very alien to them. It can feel like, what is Ananta saying? How can I look? What is this? It is so pointless. It is so intellectual. It is so abstract. Actually, it is not intellectual. It's anti-intellectual. You see, whatever I've said so far in Satsang is anti-intellectual because I've said don't go with your intellect for any of these answers. You go with your direct experience. You see, but the mind will label it and say, "But this is too intellectual or too abstract." It is anti-intellectual, anti-abstract because I've said stay with your direct experience. Don't intellectualize it. Don't infer it. Stay with what you're truly finding for yourself. You see? But I know that this is the human conditioning for whom the self-inquiry sounds too intellectual. And it is how it is. So are we to then say, okay, there is no hope? No. You can say, okay, what can you relate with? Do you have some trust in a divine force? Do you have some devotion towards God or to Sadguru or to any even expression form of a master? Do you feel like in your heart some devotion comes naturally to you? And for those, there is another way. And this is the way of surrender. This is the way of surrender, which means all of this is the problem of this divine force. And this faith in the divine power could have come just naturally or could have come with some exploration. When we look back at our life, we just say, it just happened. I decided to do something else, but life took me this way. Life did this to me. You see, life brought me to Satsang. So we see that there's a greater unitive divine presence. You see, the one that is growing the trees, the one that is making the earth spin, you see, the one that is making light and sound function. And you say, if it is doing all of this, why can't it run this life? This is the path of surrender. Whatever little will we presume we have, we see that it does not compare with this beautiful, enormous, magnificent functioning. So then we come to this point of saying, why do I have to carry this heavy burden of trying to run this life? When life is running itself, or the divine presence, God is running this life. Why do I have to carry it? So those who are inclined to surrender can also look at this when the mind is offering up these problems. And they say, after thinking about my parents, Guru Kripa Kevalam. You see, God is looking after my parents. God made them my parents. God, we can get a bit mechanical about it, like Maharaj would do sometimes. Like a sperm traveled 1 in a million shot it had, and it reached the egg, and then a body was born. Who did all of this? Who made these so-called people my parents? So that divine force which did all of this is taking care of my parents. I felt sad at the thought of giving them up because, but who is here that is the doer? It is the divine force which will either keep them or give them up, or all positions are being decided by the divine itself because it is the one that is doing all of this anyway. So who is here that can do anything, including giving them up? So when we explore our thoughts in this way, with a sense of surrender to the divine in our heart, then also then no trouble. No, you don't have to decide to give them up or to stay with them or to any of these positions. Life is doing it. Life has done all of this so far. It is doing it, whatever it is doing. So a sense of devotion, a sense of trust in this, with a sense of surrender, comes to this very simple but beautiful statement that Guruji makes. He says, leave your existence to existence. Leave your existence to existence. Then also you will find that these thoughts do not create the kind of trouble that they would if it is met with a sense of individuality and personal devotion. Now these are the two main parts. And then there are many auxiliary methods that I speak of sometimes, like chanting or mantra or mindfulness or devotional singing or hatha yoga or whatever practices you might have. Then I don't feel too much to go into all of that today, but if somebody is interested, there are many satsangs where this has been shared, and I'm sure Maya can help. If somebody who is new to satsang wants to read some of that, they can find that. But mainly we are talking about inquiry and surrender so that we can come back to our motionless presence, to our motionless existence, which in itself has no suffering, no trouble. So this I feel like was a very beautiful example.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.